They've been a consistent presence in Afghanistan for over 25 years. But following the US withdrawal from the country, the Taliban stunned the world in how quickly it took over.
I think it's a procession of the Taliban. Yes, it is. There's the white flag, and they're coming down the street.
As Afghanistan prepares for the militia to rule the country once again, who exactly are the group, and what do they believe in? The Taliban are an Islamist military organisation which ruled Afghanistan from 1996 until 2001. They believe in a hard-line interpretation of Sharia law and want to restore their strict approach to the governance of the country. For 2 decades, they've fought against the internationally recognised government of Afghanistan.
It's taken a few minutes to put it into this culvert, and you really can't tell that it's been there, certainly not in the dark.
In the early 1990s, the Soviet Union was successfully pushed out of Afghanistan by resistance fighters known as the Mujahideen. These fighters were funded and supported by the CIA as well as other Western powers. In the civil war that followed, the Taliban was the most prominent group that emerged and successfully took over the country. Theirs was a repressive regime where women and girls were denied education, music and films were banned, and massacres and executions commonplace. Afghanistan also became a training ground for terrorists. After 9/11, the US wanted them to hand over the man responsible. Osama bin Laden, who had trained in Afghanistan. They refused, so the US invaded, toppled the Taliban, and installed a government which they hoped would be able to run the country on its own.
The Taliban regime is coming to an end.
Their leader is Haibatullah Akhundzada. He has ultimate control over political, religious and military affairs. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar is the deputy leader and co-founded the Taliban. He now heads the political office and is part of their negotiating team with the Americans. Sirajuddin Haqqani is the head of the Haqqani network. The US have called it a terrorist group, and it's infamous for its use of suicide bombers. The Taliban have commissions, essentially departments of finance, health, military, education and others. Underneath this cabinet of leaders are local commanders in power across the country's provincial capitals under their control, who are responsible for everyday services. Among ordinary Afghans, support for the Taliban has decreased in Afghanistan in the last decade. In 2009, a survey found that just over half of the population had sympathy with armed opposition groups, such as the Taliban. But in 2019, the same survey found that 85% of Afghans had little sympathy for the Taliban. The speed at which the Taliban has overtaken the Afghan military suggests there may have been less resistance amongst the population than previously thought. The group has promised to allow a free media, and they've said women and girls will be safe. Indeed, in some provinces, local commanders have allowed girls' education to continue. This is not the case everywhere, though, and there is no guarantee this is indicative of their approach elsewhere. After 20 years of Western powers attempting to bring democracy and freedom to Afghanistan, it appears the sudden withdrawal of troops has left it all in vain. For some, it was a fruitless endeavour which took too long. For others, it was a rushed conclusion to an ongoing project that has left millions at risk.
Ciao chi di Buri.